Now I'd like to introduce our sponsor and speaker for the breakfast, Nikolai Abramson with Abramson Law Group. They are a business law group.
So good morning again. My name is Nikolai Abramson, and I'm a business and real estate attorney. My law firm is Abramson Law. So a little bit about me for those that don't know me. Born and raised in LA, second generation attorney based in Los Angeles. Went to LA public school all my life. When I wasn't in school, I was hanging out at my dad's law office, trading my time for some free lunch or a few bucks. I always thought that he was getting the better end of that bargain because I was slaving away for pennies. Looking back on it, though, I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize the priceless lessons that I learned from him. He always told me it's amazing to be able to advocate, to use your brain to be able to advocate for those that can't advocate for themselves. That was sort of the backbone of why I wanted to go into the practice of law and become an attorney, and it still sticks with me these days now. So my dad's practice was a little different than mine. He worked with employees who were wronged by companies, and he fought for them vigilantly. I, on the other hand, work with companies and fight to structure those companies best to protect the owners who invest their time, money, and take the risk and liability in starting a new business. I really enjoy what I do because I love working with innovators, entrepreneurs, pursuing their dreams. And I like being able to help them do that and make it easier for them to do that. His practice, growing up in his practice, he started in 1984 and things were a little different then than they are now. But that's cool because I've literally been able to see the practice of law change before my very eyes. I brought in with me today these books. So this was his corporate book from 1984, okay? This is a corporate book, actually an LLC company book, that clients brought in to me very recently. They got it from LegalZoom. So as you can see, not much difference between this one and this one, but for the fact that this one from LegalZoom comes with this fancy thing, which is your official seal. The value of this seal is whatever it weighs. It's really a good paperweight. You'll never, ever, ever use it, and it's sort of worthless. My practice is a little different. Everything I do is digital. You can access all your documents on the cloud, your laptop, or even your cell phone. Just makes more sense because I don't know how many people actually dig through their garage to use this thing. You certainly can't carry it around in your back pocket like you can this. In my opinion, it doesn't really matter if you have a paper book or digital documents. What's really important is that you actually use them, right? So this thing is for an LLC, so it has an operating agreement in it. That one's for a corporation, so it has bylaws. What really matters is that you take advantage of those contracts and you make the best use of them. I mean, an operating agreement is really the control of your company. And for people who buy these things and maybe take them out of the box and sign them, maybe don't, I just feel like they don't take the best advantage of their company. By the way, if you don't sign these documents, you really don't have a company. You don't. So what I do is I make custom, I do custom operating agreements, custom bylaws and stuff like that to achieve the best goals for the entrepreneurs starting the business. I do LLCs for real estate all the time. You never want to get a LegalZoom LLC. It just wouldn't work, right? So I think the most important thing when you're running a business is to always stay on top of it because compliance is really important. If you fail to file, for example, the statement of information for your corporation every year or the LLC every 2 years, or within 90 days of when you start the company, it's a $250 fine, like that. And there's no getting around it. With the Franchise Tax Board, there's no getting around it. So if you don't keep your business compliant, you're running the risk of A, big expenses and fines, and B, you know, if you get sued and these things aren't compliant, again, your corporation, your LLC is worthless. I could pierce it in like 5 minutes, right? I get it. Most people are running their business day to day, so it's tough for them to stay compliant, but that's why I would urge you to hire somebody like me that focuses their entire life on dealing with these things and writing your agreements and keeping them in play. In terms of real estate, I do a lot of landlord-tenant stuff. Evictions, they're called unlawful detainers in California. They're really interesting in LA. I mean, to get a court date takes forever. And I've been in situations where they show up to court just because the tenant wants to make it harder on the landlord to actually get to evict them, right? Then we make a deal or whatever it is, and then the tenant trashes the house later. I've seen it happen. So the better way is to make sure that you make these things, you be proactive with them to avoid litigation. Because dealing with litigation sucks. Sucks. And I'm a lawyer and that's what I do all the time, but it's not fun and it's expensive. So if you can protect yourself better going into it, whether it's a business or a real estate project, I advise you to do that. It's worth spending a few bucks now to save a lot of money, time, aggravation later. So those are some of the things that I do, and that's where I'm from. And I wanted to tell you about this cool new thing that we're offering to the chamber. I think Bruce Bay told me it's the first ever program for the chamber like this, or a chamber. I'm offering 15 minutes of my time to chamber members that they can take advantage of to get a quick consultation. I can't go too in-depth with your details, but maybe I can direct you in the right place if you have an issue. For example, if you committed some sort of crime, I might direct you to RASH. If you have some real estate issues, I can certainly help with them. But I'm offering that to the chamber because, again, I think what's really important is take the initiative, call the lawyer, seek the legal advice now before you have to spend time, money, energy, and headaches, lots of headaches, dealing with a lawsuit later. And so whether it's for business or for real estate, or if you're in the real estate business, be proactive about your legal now. Take advantage of this amazing, I think, amazing program that we're offering to the chamber, because it only behooves you to do so to avoid headaches and a lot of stuff that you don't want to deal with later. That's what I do, and I'm open to any questions.
So I have a question. So, you know, a lot of businesses, especially around LA, are, you know, smaller, maybe we call it a mom and pop corporation or LLC. Yep. And, you know, every year you're supposed to have a meeting and minutes and all that kind of stuff, which probably most of them never do. Right. Or do infrequently. Is that something that you can do? And if so, what generally, I mean, I know not holding you to anything, but what generally is maybe a price range to just have that upkeep every year without, you know, the business owner having to get involved in that?
No, absolutely. I mean, again, corporation, 2 seconds if we go to court, right? It's called an alter ego liability. I do those. The pricing depends because it depends how much business you're actually doing, what you're doing in your company. Did you hire new people? Did you make certain contracts? Did you sign a lease? It really depends. If you did zero business, then it's a short minute meeting. If you did a lot of things, then it's a longer one. And so it depends on the size of the company and again, what they are doing. But absolutely, if you have a corporation, you don't do your minutes, you don't have a corporation, right? They're not required for LLCs, but they're still really advisable. And so it's really important that you keep that update. The same thing goes with the statement of information that needs to be filed every single year for a corporation or every other year for an LLC. You don't do it, they're going to hit you for $250. And by the way, if you don't pay that $250, then and you get sued in court, you can't even appear in court because you're non-compliant. Your corporation's worth nothing at that point. Your LLC is worth nothing at that point. It's an alter ego issue. I can bust your corporation down and sue you personally, the owner. You remind me, another issue that needs to be discussed is trademarks. Just because you have an LLC or you have a corporation doesn't mean that you own that name. Doesn't protect you. The only 100% way to own the name of your business is to have a trademark for it. You have a cool idea, whatever it is, you can get a DBA from in LA, the county, doing business as, better known as a fictitious business name. That's sort of protection in the city or, the county of LA. But if somebody wants to do something in California or Nevada, they can take that name away from you. And if they get a trademark before you and can prove that they've been doing business before you, they own the name, and not only can you not use it, they can sue you for using it. So it's really important that you consult with an attorney and do all of these steps to best make your business not only compliant, but I work a lot with businesses that are buying, people buying businesses, people selling businesses. That's another avenue where this comes into play. You don't keep up your corporate minutes, the value of your corporation just went down because it's not compliant. You don't have a trademark, what are they buying, right? Maybe the goodwill of your business, but your business value just went down because you don't have things compliant. So if your goal is to set up a legitimate business that eventually you want to go public or sell, you have to do these things right from the get-go. And I know that's tough because people bootstrap their businesses or start small, but these little things can make a big deal later. And so that's why I want to offer the Chamber a few minutes of my time that they can call me and we can discuss what's going on with their business, where they're at, what they can do to progress themselves. Bruce Bay.
Thank you, Nikolai. I have just some clarification, make it clear for the people. How is your 15 minutes consultation with your firm every month from the member? Just pick up the phone, talk to you, or they need to go to your website?
Right.
And if they are your client, they get 15 minutes credit on their bill, or what can happen?
So we're setting that up with the Chamber website. You'll be able to go to you'll click on the thing, it'll say schedule an appointment. My office will be able to call you back. We'll schedule some time and we'll have a phone consultation. I didn't even mention, by the way, that link will probably go to my legal website, which is lawyerthat.com. You can check that out, it's really cool. Lawyerthat.com. Because whatever you're doing, you should lawyer that. I also made just so your friends know, I also have a non-legal website, sort of going off the cuff here. I have a non-legal website I created called inkthat.com for people who can't afford to speak with an attorney, right? It's an alternative to LegalZoom, but I think a better one, where they can ink their corporation or form an LLC quickly and easily digitally from their smartphone in minutes. You can go on inkthat.com and you can search your company name, the domain name. In the next week, we're going to add trademark, company name in California or Florida, and you'll be able to buy all of those in one place. That's not a substitute for legal advice, and I don't recommend it to serious businesses like those in this room. But if somebody has a really small business and they're considering LegalZoom, then I would ask that you suggest going to InkThat, because the idea there is it's faster, it's more digital, and it's easier to start a business than LegalZoom. Bruno.
So you do trademarks, copyrights, patents?
I don't do patents. I do trademarks. Patent bar is the only bar that lawyers can actually do. Lawyers have to take a second bar to be certified as a patent attorney. I don't practice in front of the patent, the USPTO, but for trademarks, which I do every day.
Your eviction cases, Nikolai, do you handle jury trials as well, or is that a specialty that?
Most of the stuff that I do, you're going to go in front of the main judge in Stanley Mosque in LA. They usually don't do jury trials. I mean, unless we're talking a very high value thing, but I try to keep the cost low because you know, the owner's already suffering. Also, the thing about juries is it takes longer to get one. And the problem with evictions in this county is it takes forever just to get into court. Let me give you a horror story. You have to serve the guy getting the UD, the unlawful detainer, and they know how to duck them, and they're ready to duck them because they haven't paid rent. So they know how to do that. I therefore have a service that actually, my service processor that does it. We were evicting somebody, served them 10 separate times, or attempted to, and they ducked over 10 times. I got them on the 11th. Got them on the 11th, and they finally showed up in court. We're talking months and months and months. And so the real loss for the landlord, in my opinion, isn't the legal fees. It's the time that they could be getting rent, right? And the time it takes to get it out, to get the tenant out, and then they have to rehab the place, fix it up, and then hire one of, a nice agent or somebody to re-rent it. So my vision in terms of an unlawful detainer, a good one, is how do we get them out as quick as possible? A lot of times I'll actually recommend that we try to settle it too, because again, that gets them out before dealing with court, right? And I can do that and write those agreements. I find those to be usually more successful than the evictions. Yeah.
So I have two questions. One
Sure.
is, do you have a translator for bilingual? Like Spanish?
That's a good question. We have a translator for Spanish in our office.
You do?
She's
Okay.
not my direct employee, but I have people I can access.
Okay, second question is, if we have a 15-minute consultation, can we do a conference call with a client?
Sure.
That would be okay?
Yeah.
And I have one more question. Rather than eviction, have you heard of this cash out program? For example, a client was asked to seismic retrofit her building.
Yeah.
Rather than paying the fee for
Right.
the seismic retrofit,
Right.
she decided to sell the building. So
Okay.
instead of evicting the tenants, she has no ground to evict them, but
Yeah.
she offered them something called cash out
Well, you
program.
can, again, you can make agreements with tenants that they get out,
Right,
and that's what I recommend doing.
right, that's what she's trying to do, but
Yeah.
the tenants don't want to leave. So that's why I want to have a conference call with you. Okay, thank
It's
you
a
so
longer
much.
conversation.
It's a longer conversation.
Sure.
Thank you.
Philip?
You've been in business for yourself for 20, 30 years. Is it too late to get your affairs in order?
No, not at all. I mean, I would say no time like the present, right? You don't have a trademark, let's do it. There's nothing wrong with that. You can always do it.
But there are like minutes and all that kind of stuff.
Minutes are a little more difficult, but there are options that you can do. I would say that it's better to get your affairs in order before potential litigation shows up at your door. Any other questions?
Thank you, Nikolai. Let's give him a round of
Thank
applause. So I would just encourage, as Nikolai mentioned, the free 15 minutes I think is huge for certainly any small business owner, just be able to at least point you in the right direction and at least let you know maybe where you're deficient and fixing those things. So I would strongly encourage anyone who has needs just to reach out to Nikolai and get that taken care of. So, yeah, thank you. Two things, business before we're going to finish, I guess, for the day. First of all, we want to congratulate our chamber member, Fiona Ma. She won a race for treasurer, so she's not here this morning, but we'll let her have the morning off. And lastly, keeping with tradition, I'll end with a quote, as Buzz normally does. Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. So let's go out and react positively. Thank you.
Thank you.